My name is Margaret Adele, and I am 56 years old. Have one child. One boy. My only son. His name is Daniel, and from the day he was born he became my whole world. I raised him all by myself. His father left when Daniel was just a baby. Ran off with a woman he met at the bus park. He didn't leave a note. He didn't leave money. Just disappeared like smoke. So, it was just me and Daniel against the world. I worked as a cleaner. I scrubbed rich people's toilets. I mopped floors that never stayed clean. I washed clothes until my fingers cracked. I worked morning, afternoon, and sometimes all night. I didn't eat meat for weeks just to buy him shoes. I didn't rest. I didn't cry. I just kept going because I had a child who believed in me. Daniel never complained. He always hugged me when I came home tired. He would rub my feet and say, "One day, I'll buy you a big house, Mum." I'd smile and whisper, "Just be a good man, my son. That's all I need." And he was a good boy. He studied hard. He stayed away from trouble. And when he got a job as a software developer, I felt like all my pain had finally meant something. He used to call me every night. We'd talk and laugh. He even helped me get my first smartphone. Everything changed the day he met Vanessa. First, she seemed polite. She was soft-spoken, always dressed fancy, and always called me Ma. But after some time I started noticing little things. She never let me visit their apartment. She would roll her eyes when Daniel wasn't looking. Once, she even asked me not to wear my Ankara gown to her birthday dinner. She said the colors were too bright. Still, I didn't complain. I wanted peace. I wanted my son to be happy. When they got engaged, I danced in my room all night. I prayed for their home. I started saving for my dress for the wedding. I even picked out a bright blue gelly to match the lace. One day, I asked Vanessa if she wanted me to help with the wedding food. That's when she said something that stung. "Oh, no offense, Ma. But we're using real professionals." I laughed to hide my shame. "Ah, that's good. As long as it's tasty." But deep down, something was changing. Daniel started visiting less. Our calls became short. He stopped asking me for advice. And when I asked if I could invite my old friends from church to the wedding, he looked uncomfortable and said, "Vanessa wants it to be small." I told myself it was just stress, that things would go back to normal after the wedding. I was wrong. The week of the wedding, I still hadn't seen the invitation card. I asked him about it and he said, "Oh, didn't I send it? Don't worry, just show up." So on that Saturday morning I dressed in my best. Blue lace, silver shoes. I even went to fix my hair with the little money I had saved. I looked at myself in the mirror and smiled. "This is Daniel's day," I said out loud. "My son is becoming a husband." I took a taxi to the venue, a big fancy hotel by the ocean. People were arriving in shiny cars. The place looked like something from a magazine. I clutched my small silver purse, walked to the entrance, and told the woman standing there, "I'm the groom's mother." She looked at me from head to toe and said, "And your invitation, ma'am?" I blinked. I wasn't given one. "But I'm his mother." She frowned. Then, a tall woman in gold heels and a long straight wig came up to us. It was Vanessa's mother. She gave me a long, slow smile. "Oh," she said sweetly, "you didn't hear? This is a private event. Only invited guests allowed. I'm sorry, but you're not on the list." I felt my throat close. I turned to look inside, and I saw Daniel, standing near the front, laughing with his groomsmen. He saw me. His eyes met mine, and he looked away. Waited. He didn't come. He didn't say anything. I don't know how long I stood there. My feet felt like stone. My chest was tight. I wanted to cry. I wanted to scream. But instead, smiled. Soft, quiet smile. "I understand," I said. And I turned around and walked away. But what they didn't know was this. That venue they were using. That grand hall by the ocean. I owned 40% of it. Quietly. Through an old friend I had helped during hard times. No one knew. The catering company. I gave them their first big break. I was their biggest investor. The wedding planner. I paid her child's hospital bill 2 years ago. The photographer. My godson. The cake vendor. My old classmate. We once sold Puff Puff together after school. The DJ. He used to live in my compound when I was still renting a room. And the payments. Every single one of them. Came from me. Not directly. Not publicly. But through the back door. Through loyalty. Through silent hands and quiet favors. They thought I was just a poor cleaner with loud clothes and an old handbag. But what they didn't know was that all those years I worked and suffered. I was also investing, saving, helping, building. And now, they had uninvited me from something I was holding together. I walked home that day slowly. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I sat on my small couch, removed my ghillie, and made one phone call. Just one. And that's when everything began to fall apart. When I got home, I sat on my couch and took off my shoes. My feet were shaking, but not from the walk. It was the pain. The kind of pain you can't see, but it sits in your chest like a rock. I thought about Daniel. My baby. The boy I carried on my back when he had malaria. The boy who once said, "I'll never forget you, Mum." He forgot me. For a woman who thought I was too loud. Too simple. Too local. I stared at my ghillie on the table. It looked so bright. So full of hope. But today, it sat there like a reminder of how far I had been pushed aside. But I wasn't angry. No. I wasn't going to shout or go back to fight. I was going to do something else. Something quiet. Something strong. I reached for my old notebook. The one I kept in my drawer. Inside were names, numbers, and handwritten agreements. Most of them were old friends I had helped. Some owed me favors. Others didn't even know I had helped them through other people. You see, years ago I made a decision. I decided to stop begging for a seat at people's tables. And start building my own. Every cleaning job I did, I saved a little. Asked questions. Listened. I watched how rich people talked about business. I used to wash the office floor of a woman who owned 3 restaurants. One day I asked her how she started. She smiled and said, "Invest quietly. Let your money work louder than your voice." So I did. When a friend started a food delivery service, I gave her 300,000 naira. She tried to refuse, but I insisted. She cried that day. Now her company feeds weddings every weekend. When a man I once helped in church opened a wedding hall by the ocean, he came to me and said, "I will never forget what you did for me when I had nothing." He gave me 40% ownership. Kept it quiet. All my life I helped people. Not because I wanted anything back, but because I knew the day would come when I would need them. Today was that day. I picked up my phone and called 4 people. I didn't explain much. I just said, "Pause everything for Daniel's wedding. No more services till further notice." None of them asked why. They just said, "Yes, Ma." Then I put my phone away, stood up and washed my face. I looked in the mirror and said, "You are not weak, Margaret. You are not loud. You are powerful, just quiet." Meanwhile at the venue, it was 2:30 p.m. when things started falling apart. The guests were all seated. The music was playing. Vanessa was busy taking selfies. Her mother was showing off her gold lace and jewelry. And Daniel was smiling like a prince. Then the caterers stopped bringing food. The plates disappeared. Waiters started walking out one by one. Then the flower girl's mother noticed that the decorations at the altar were being taken down. Someone whispered, "What's happening?" Vanessa's mother marched to the catering area and shouted, "Where's the wedding cake?" No one answered. She stormed back inside. But just as she entered, the photographer packed up his bag. "Excuse me. Where are you going?" she shouted. He looked her in the eye and said, "Ma, I was told to stop. Good luck." Then the DJ made an announcement. "Due to technical issues, music is ending now." And silence fell like a heavy curtain. People looked around, confused. Vanessa started crying. "What is happening? Where's the planner?" But the planner was gone. She had packed her things and left a small note on the table. It read, "Sorry, Your account has been marked on hold. Contact the sponsor for more information. Daniel was frozen. He grabbed his phone and called the venue manager. Sir, everything is falling apart. What's going on? The manager said, I don't know, sir. We just got a message from the silent partner to pause all services related to your event. Who is the silent partner? Daniel screamed. The manager paused. I'm not allowed to say, sir. Then Daniel looked at Vanessa. Did you talk to my mum? Vanessa's face turned red. I told her not to come. Your mother didn't belong here. Daniel's eyes widened. You what? I thought you agreed, she snapped. He didn't answer. He just sat down, shaking. Vanessa's mother picked up her phone and called the cake vendor. Hello. Why hasn't the wedding cake arrived? A man on the other end said calmly. Because Margaret said cancel. Who is Margaret? She's part owner of the company. She signed the cancellation this morning. Sorry, Ma. Blick. More silence. More whispers. Some guests began to leave. Daniel stood up, pulled his phone from his pocket, and dialed. Rang. And rang. And rang. I looked at the screen. It said, Daniel, my son. I stared at it. And I turned the phone face down. And let it ring. Not out of revenge. But out of reminder. I wasn't the one who turned my back first. The phone rang 5 times. Then it stopped. Daniel stared at the screen, hoping it was a mistake. Hoping I would call him back. But I didn't. Not because I wanted to hurt him. But because I needed him to sit in the silence he created. At the venue, everything was falling apart. The guests were no longer laughing. No more clinking of glasses. No cheerful music. Just confusion, whispers, and people slowly walking out the door. Vanessa was crying, but not the kind of cry that comes from love. It was the kind that comes from embarrassment. From things not going her way. Her makeup was smudged. Her lashes were halfway off. Her voice cracked as she shouted at the wedding planner's assistant, the only person left standing near the altar. Bring back the cake. Bring back the music. Do something. The poor assistant trembled and said, I'm sorry, Ma. I got a message from the big boss. She said we must cancel the rest of the service. Who is the boss? Vanessa shouted. The girl looked around and whispered, a woman named Margaret Adele. Vanessa's knees buckled. Margaret, she stuttered. Daniel turned slowly. My mother. The assistant nodded. Yes, sir. She owns part of this company. Actually, she owns part of everything today. Daniel's mouth hung open. What do you mean, everything? The girl started to list. The venue, the food company, the decorator. Even the sound guy said she helped pay for his first equipment. She's. Daniel didn't wait to hear the rest. He walked outside. He didn't say a word to Vanessa. He didn't say a word to anyone. He just walked. His mind was spinning. How could the woman he thought was just a cleaner be connected to all these businesses? He thought back to all the times I stayed up late, drinking Gary in silence. All the days I wore the same shoes, even when they had holes. All the nights he heard me praying softly in my room. He never saw me complain. He never saw me stop. He only saw what I didn't have, not what I was building. Daniel went home that evening, opened his laptop, and typed my name into the company registry. There it was. Margaret Adele. Silent partner. He clicked on one company. Then another. Then another. He sat back slowly in the chair, his chest heavy. I wasn't just his mother. I was a woman who had quietly stitched her way into the very fabric of the city. Without noise, without pride, without needing approval. He called again. This time I answered. But I didn't speak first. Mom, he said quietly. Did you really do all this? I didn't lie. Yes, Daniel. I did. Why? His voice cracked. Why didn't you just tell me? He sighed. I tried, my son. Many times. But after you met Vanessa, you stopped hearing me. You stopped seeing me. You looked at me like I was too small to stand beside your future. He didn't reply. Continued. I didn't come to your wedding to show off. Came because I love you. I wore my best dress because I wanted to make you proud. But when I stood at the gate, and your fiancé's mother told me I wasn't invited, and you looked away. Pause. That broke me. Daniel sniffed. I didn't know it would get this far. I thought she was just trying to keep things small. She made you ashamed of me, I said softly. And you let her. There was silence again. Then Daniel said, Mom, I don't know what to say. I nodded even though he couldn't see me. You don't need to say anything. Just understand something. This wasn't revenge. It was reflection. I didn't destroy your wedding. Just step back. And when I stepped back, everything else did too. He swallowed hard. What do I do now? Start over, I said gently. With better eyes. And a stronger heart. That night I sat in my living room staring at the wall. My heart ached. Not because I ruined their day, I didn't. I simply stopped saving them. I thought about the years I spent working while Daniel slept peacefully. The mornings I walked 5 miles to clean houses. The day I fainted at work but still came home with bread. He didn't know those things. And I never told him. I never wanted him to carry guilt. I wanted him to grow free. But freedom without gratitude is dangerous. The next day I got a knock on my door. It was Daniel. He stood there with a small cake in his hand. Not from any fancy bakery. Just a simple one. The kind we used to share when he was little. His eyes were red. His clothes were wrinkled. His voice shook when he said, I don't know if you'll ever forgive me, but I wanted to say, thank you. Open the door. And I let him in. Not because he was perfect, but because he was still my son. Daniel stepped inside the house slowly, like a child afraid to break something. He looked around like he was seeing my home for the first time. The small clock on the wall. The faded cushion I had sewn myself. The photo of him in his primary school graduation cap, sitting proudly on the shelf. He held the cake in his hands and said, I bought this from Mama Chica's shop. Remember her? He nodded. Of course. She used to sneak us extra icing. He smiled faintly. I thought maybe we could share it. Like we used to. I took the cake from him and placed it gently on the table. He sat down. There was a long silence. Not the angry kind. Not the awkward kind. It was the kind where two hearts try to find each other again. I didn't know, Mom, Daniel finally said. I didn't know all the things you did. I didn't know you were helping people build their dreams while you still lived like you had nothing. I didn't need much, I said softly. I just needed you. His eyes watered. And I failed you. I shook my head. No, you forgot me. That's different. Sometimes people forget what they stand on when they're too busy reaching for the sky. He looked down. I let Vanessa change me. I let her shame become mine. She made me think I had to choose between a new life and you. I didn't speak. I let him feel it. Then I stood up and took an old photo album from the shelf. I opened it and placed it in front of him. He flipped through it. There were pictures of me in my cleaning uniform. Pictures of him on his 5th birthday. Pictures of the two of us eating jollof rice from the same plate because we couldn't afford to. He stared for a long time. You built a kingdom in silence, Mom, he whispered. And I tried to leave you at the gate. I touched his hand. I wasn't angry that day, Daniel. I was disappointed. 'Cause I taught you how to work. I taught you how to love. But I never taught you how to see. He swallowed hard. But I see now, he said. And I'm sorry. I want to fix it. I smiled gently. This isn't something you fix. Something you grow from. You'll remember it every time you meet someone you think is less. You'll remember it when someone holds the door for you. Or serves your food. Or sweeps your floor. He nodded. I'll never forget again. I promise. We sat in silence for a while longer. Then he said something that surprised me. Vanessa's mother came to the house this morning. I raised an eyebrow. Oh. She asked if you would consider uncanceling the vendors so they can have a redo wedding next weekend. I laughed. Real deep laugh. And what did you tell her? He smiled. I told her my mother doesn't work for her. I laughed again, and this time so did he. We cut the small cake. We ate it slowly like it was a treasure. He stayed for hours. We didn't talk about money. We didn't talk about the wedding. We just talked about life the way we used to. That night as he left, he hugged me tightly. I don't deserve you, Mum, he whispered. I whispered back, then become a man who does. When he was gone, I sat on the couch and looked around. Felt no anger, no pride, just peace. People always think revenge has to be loud, explosive, full of fire and shouting. But sometimes, the quietest revenge is the most powerful. I didn't throw a tantrum. I didn't make a scene. I just walked away. And everything followed. You see, when you are the one quietly holding everything up, people don't realize it until you let go. I didn't ruin their wedding. I didn't destroy their plans. I simply stopped holding them together. And when I let go, the truth fell like rain. They say mothers are soft. But some of us are made of steel. We cry in silence. We work in shadows. We build empires with tired hands and aching backs. And no one notices until they try to walk without us. And when they finally look back, we are still standing there. Not broken. Not bitter. Just stronger than they ever knew.